Okay, if you're a dog owner, you've definitely been there. You're standing in the pet food aisle, staring at this absolute wall of bags, just trying to make the right choice for your best friend. Today, we're diving into why that choice suddenly became the focus of a major FDA investigation, one that looked into a very serious and potential link between some of the most popular dog foods and a dangerous heart condition.
So could your dog's food actually be linked to heart disease? I mean, it's a terrifying question, right? No pet owner ever wants to think about it, but it's exactly the question that veterinarians all over the country started asking because they were noticing a really disturbing trend. A huge spike in cases of a specific heart condition called dilated cardiomyopathy, or DCM.
So what exactly is DCM? Well, to put it simply, it's a disease where the heart muscle gets weak and the whole heart itself gets bigger or dilated. This makes it incredibly hard for the heart to do its job and pump blood. And in the worst cases, it can lead to congestive heart failure. It is a very, very serious diagnosis.
This all really kicked off as a true medical mystery. The FDA has this reporting system, and it just started lighting up like a Christmas tree with an unusual number of cases of this one specific condition. And we're not talking about just a few incidents here and there. Vets across the country were seeing a pattern that they just couldn't explain.
And here's the number, 524. Between early 2014 and April of 2019, the FDA got 524 reports of DCM. Now, you might hear that and think, well, okay, 524, there are like 77 million pet dogs in the U.S. But it wasn't the number of cases that raised the alarm, it was the nature of these cases that was a huge red flag for investigators.
See, here's what was so strange about it. DCM is usually a genetic thing. You expect to see it in certain large and giant breeds, like Dobermans or Great Danes, but these new reports, they were for golden retrievers, for bulldogs, even for mixed breed dogs that have no known genetic reason to get this disease. Something else had to be going on.
And when you look at the data, it's clear this was all over the map. The affected dogs ranged from puppies less than a year old all the way up to seniors. And they were everything from tiny 4-pound dogs to massive 212-pounders. Whatever was happening here, it was not picky. So, as the investigators are sifting through all these reports, one common thread starts to stand out again and again, and it was found right there in the food bowl. And this was the first huge clue. More than 90%, think about that, more than 9 out of every 10 of the reported DCM cases involved dogs that were eating diets labeled grain-free. That is an absolutely overwhelming correlation that you just can't ignore. So they drilled down even deeper into those grain-free diets, and the connection got even more specific. A staggering 93% of those reported diets contained peas or lentils, or both. Those ingredients that got super popular as a replacement for traditional grains like corn and wheat? Yep, those were the ones. And just like that, the investigation had its prime suspects. Legumes like peas and lentils, which are also known as pulses, and to a lesser degree, potatoes and sweet potatoes. These were the ingredients that consistently showed up as the main event in the foods these sick dogs were eating. Okay, so with this incredibly strong lead, the FDA launched a full-scale scientific investigation. They were determined to figure out exactly what was going on. And their process was super methodical. They gathered all the detailed reports from vets and owners, they analyzed thousands of different food labels, they ran lab tests on the pet food itself, and they worked with a whole network of veterinarian labs to run diagnostics on the affected dogs. They were turning over every possible stone to find an answer.
But, and this is where the story takes a really weird turn, when the first lab results came back, the mystery only got deeper. They tested the foods for all the obvious culprits, right? Like heavy metals or mineral deficiencies, but they found nothing. On paper, the food looked perfectly normal.
So this meant the easy answer was totally out the window. That grain-free clue was pointing them in a direction, for sure, but the puzzle was turning out to be way more complicated than anyone thought. And this right here, this is the real head-scratcher. When the FDA compared the nutritional makeup of those suspect grain-free foods to traditional grain-containing foods, they found no significant differences. The protein levels, the fat levels, even the levels of key amino acids like taurine, they were all pretty much the same. The smoking gun they were looking for simply wasn't smoking. And that led the FDA to its official conclusion. This is not a simple case of one bad ingredient. Instead, in their own words, it's a complex scientific issue that may involve multiple factors. That means it could be anything from how these ingredients are processed to how they interact with the specific dog's genetics and metabolism. It is complicated.
So, with all the science still unfolding, what does this all mean for you and your dog? Well, the FDA has provided some really clear, actionable advice for any concerned owners out there.
First things first, it's so important to know the signs. If you notice your dog has way less energy all of a sudden, if they're coughing, having trouble breathing, or in a worst-case scenario, they collapse, these are all potential red flags for a heart condition. That warrants an immediate call to your vet. The most important takeaway here is to partner with your veterinarian. If you see any of those symptoms, get them checked out. Be ready to give your vet a complete history of everything your dog eats. And that includes all the treats, too. And critically, do not make sudden diet changes without talking to your vet first. They can help you come up with the best plan for your dog's specific needs.
So yeah, the FDA's investigation is still going on, and this whole thing remains a really complex, unsolved puzzle in the world of veterinary nutrition. It really serves as a powerful reminder that the science behind our pets' diets is constantly evolving, and what's in their food bowl is so much more complicated than what we can just see on the label.